Hello and welcome to today's beginner's watercolor tutorial. I'm Bill Holkham and today I'm going to guide you through painting this easy country farm landscape. By popular demand, I will also be including the sketching process on this one. All you need is a pencil, watercolor paper, a few round brushes and four colors. So let's get painting. We're going to do this simple scheme suitable for beginners, with a little cottage in the background there, path leading up, little fenced in paddock, couple of trees, distant hills. Quite a simple landscape. That's a suggestion I would make is before you commit your pencil drawing to the paper that you're going to paint on, just have a little go first on a piece of scrap paper like this, and so you can lay things out properly, and then you're less likely to have to do corrections on the paper itself. So that will be my guide. I can put that out the way. Also have to hand your kneadable eraser like this, so that if you do need to take out any lines, it will not score the paper and not leave any nasty marks on the paper. I am just going to use a simple HB pencil, got a quite nice fine point on it. Right, now what I would suggest you do is aim for a high point. So we've got, for instance, this chimney here. And if I look at where I approximately want that placed in the painting, it's about here. So I'll just do that. Then we've got a sloping roof, bearing in mind that from this position, the top of the roof there is slanting away from us. And the roof slants down like this. And once again, that would slant slightly away from us. Then this side of the house, like this, and we have a little lean-to, like a shed type arrangement there coming up. Adds a little bit more interest. And a door there. And the sides like this. Okay. All right. And then we can do a doorway and a couple of windows here and a couple up top there. So very simple, as I say, good for beginners. Then we've got a little bit of background hills like this, and we have some continuing over this way, and a couple of trees, and I've got one that is purposefully coming out just behind the property there, just lightly indicating it. That'll all be filled in later. Then we have another one here. Helping to frame the little property cottage here, like this. Now, on this side, we've got a little hedgerow, and likewise over here. So only just indicating those here and there like that. And I think we can have a little gate here. Little gate post, just lightly indicated in there, and then coming up to the tree here, and then we've got this pathway. Now it's best if this is offset, and also it's broad at this area towards the bottom of the painting and gets thinner and thinner as we go up. So I'll just indicate this side first, not a straight line, and then here it sweeps around a little bit from there and comes over this way. And once again, you see I've got that angle and this angle, which is helping to lead you in. And in reality, it would be like that. Then we can have a couple of little track lines like this, thin, close together. The further away they are, then farther apart, like this. And here and there I might put some puddles later, etc. Now in terms of this little paddock area that's fenced in, this helps us with the posts, with giving perspective. You can see that at first the distance between them is quite broad, wide, and then they get thinner and thinner, thinner and thinner, and then it comes around the corner like so, and it gets smaller. Then we've got a little bit of barbed wire, type wire on the top going around like that, and another one at the bottom section going around like that. Okay, so that all helps lead us in, and that's a nice simple drawing for this painting, and I hope you found that useful. I start with my number 12 brush with some clear water in the sky here and there, and then I go into a weak mixture of Winsor blue, and where I have laid down some clear water, I'm avoiding those areas as much as possible because I want them to be light white clouds. You can bring that down a little ways, get it weaker as it comes down to the horizon, and you can go over the distant hills. Then occasionally you'll see me fusing in the blue at the edges of the white clouds with some clear water. So very simple sky today, perfect for beginners, so you don't need to worry about lots of detail for the sky. Then what you will do is, using your same brush, once you've done that initial part of the painting, you'll come back with some more Winsor blue, same strength, and just fill in here and there and create your interesting shapes. Very quick and easy. I've just done a little bit of the blue behind the property because we'll be having a red roof colour, and that will be a nice complementary colour situation with the red and the blue. And you can see me occasionally to help with shaping up. I can reduce the amount of liquid pigment on the brush with some clean tissue and continue the process of neatening up on the cloud edges. So now wipe off and fuse the hairdryer, a much lighter finish. Then for the distant hillside, I am still using my number 12 because it has a very good point. I want to lay down this wash quite quickly. It is Winsor blue with some alizarin crimson. So it's a hazy blue distance, as is the situation in nature, as things get further away from us. And I started with the 12 brush because it has a very good point, and I wanted a lot of wash down immediately. Then for neatening up, you could resort to something like your number 6 brush, number 7 brush, whatever you have to hand. And bear in mind, as always, I do explain, although by request I mention these brush sizes, they do vary according to the brand and the different makes. But it is a guide. And dry that off. Then for our roof, I've got some light red. And just also on the little shed to the side. If you want more accuracy, you could go to one of your smaller brushes, like a 4 or a 2, whatever you have to hand. See me using this next brush, it is also a number 6, but it's a little bit longer in terms of the hairs and has a better point to it. That's why I'm using it for neatening up, doing the chimneys on the other side of the roof. So that's shaping up quite nicely. Some detail, but not mass amount of detail. That's why it's also good for beginners. I've just got a little bit of coloration on the facade of the property. You'll see me refer to it as a farmhouse and also a cottage. Either one works. Then for shadow, that mixture of the blue and the alizarin crimson. So the shadow side of the property, that front facade, and also the shadow coming down from the little shed structure. So our sun position is to the right and reasonably high. That's why we got the shape of those shadows in that fashion. You can do a little bit of lifting if necessary with some clear water on your brush for shaping up or for reducing the strength of something. Also, you can use just a little damp brush for mopping up any excess pigment. Then we got the gutter line areas, and then we're going on to the windows. Just use that greyish mixture for the windows. Then I've chosen some blue for the door of the shed, because that sings out a little bit, catches your attention. And then we've got some of the light red for the doorway. And I'm doing a little bit of detail, some frame around the windows with that light red. So that's the most detailed part of the painting in one sense. Then for this little hedgerow on either side, do your mixture of Windsor blue, Windsor yellow, perhaps a little tiny touch of the light red. If you add light red to those two, it'll give you a more olive color. It will tone it down. Whilst it's wet, I'm dropping in on the shadow side some darker version. And then along the bottom of the hedgerow, dropping in some light red wheat mixture, letting that fuse in. So still very much wet in wet going on. Just draw them up together, let them join, create interesting shapes. Making good progress. This painting is already halfway through. And with those mixtures of colours that I've got, I'm just strengthening out here and there on the hedgerow, the interesting shapes, thinking again of that sun position and therefore casting shadows to the left side and little strands of hedgerow coming up here and there. So it's not all just rounded, but it's got a little bit of character to it, a little bit more interesting shape. Do that on both sides. You could decide to use a very small brush at this stage. You might go to your number 2 brush, for instance, because it's that much thinner and you can achieve more detail, more accuracy with those thin strands from the hedgerow. I could have made it far more complicated than I have, but as I mentioned, this is ideal for beginners. So we want to have you understand the various techniques involved without getting too complex in terms of what we're painting, so that you can learn those techniques and then apply them to your own masterpieces. That's the whole idea of these tutorials at Let's Paint Watercolors that I do for you. So for the trees, I've mixed some of that brown colour, and as much as possible, as you see in my tutorials, mix up the colours you need from your mainly 3 primary colours, rather than have a multitude of different colours in your palette and therefore using maybe 10 different colours in the painting from different tubes. It's not necessary, and I believe you end up with a more harmonious painting when you have mixed up your colours from just 3 or 4 colours. Even for black, I don't use black straight from the tube because I feel it jumps out. And I like it to have more value, so variation within it. Some people would say different tones. Tone is colour, value is the variation, such as from lighter to darker. Then use the side of the brush scraping technique for the foliage on the trees, and as always you start from light to dark as we do in transparent watercolor. And just a little reminder, you will see that I am using the white of the paper. So for instance, with that little farmhouse, the facade of the property, those walls are the white of the paper. That's the English style of transparent watercolors, and I do feel it works best whenever you can do that. Exceptions can be made, but as much as possible do that, because once you resort to the opaque white, it does jump off the page and can be quite distracting. So use your different size brushes to add to those trees. Once again, I could have made those much more complex, more varied, but it's not necessary for this tutorial. We want this to be quick, easy, fast as possible. You can darken up some of the various branches and so forth, helping to give the tree a little bit of shaping, have it a little bit more interesting, but without getting too complicated. I think we're nearly done with the trees now. When you use that scraping technique, you can either let the initial wash totally dry, or you can scrape a little bit with it almost dry. Then I'm putting a little bit of shadow from that tree onto the property. Now, I did mention when I explained the drawing that I may add a couple of puddles, which I'm doing now, just pencil sketching those in. And I'll start with those with that blue-grey mixture, the blue with your red, which could be your alizarin crimson. A light red would do it too, your choice. Just a couple puddles, and have them separated like that, one closer, one a little bit further apart, much more interesting like that. Then for the paddock, we've got your yellow colour. You could have it as a pure yellow to start with, or you could have it with a little bit of blue mix, but we'll be coming on to that anyway. So once again, an underpainting situation. Use your number 12 brush, so you got a good body of pigment on the brush. Then dip into your green, your muted green colour, lay that on wet and wet on both sides of the roadway. As it goes into the distance, of course, it is lighter, so you just bear that in mind. And then for the little roadway or pathway, you've got your light red mixture. Quite weak at this stage. We don't want it jumping out too much at this stage. Just lay that on with plenty of water mixed in. Still using my number 12 brush because it's got a good point. You may need to use a different one, as long as it can carry enough liquid, because you're working quite fast and you don't want it drying on you. Then in the distance, I've just added some clear water to the brush, because it will be, as I mentioned, things further away much lighter. Then at the bottom, now I can darken up on the pathway. And I'm using a flat brush at this stage. Flat brush, they do enable you to maintain more accuracy. In general, they would carry less pigment, less water, and that helps accuracy. And sometimes I do that for clouds as well, but you'll see that in other tutorials. There's plenty of tutorials to choose from in Let's Paint Watercolor. And some of those you'll see me using flat brushes for shaping clouds. So bear in mind again what I said before about the roadway, where it's broader at the bottom and then gets thinner as we go into the distance. And because I dried off that initial wash, I'm now able to do the scraping technique, a darker version of the brown for the edges of the roadway and the various ruts in it, etc., and creating the convincing shapes. We're a long way through the painting. We only have a few minutes to go, because next we'll be tackling the little paddock and the grass to the right, and then the fencing. So for the paddock, have some tissue to hand so you can control how much you have on the brush, and generally use that scraping technique with your green colors, different intensities, and letting them mix and fuse together to keep it more interesting. Same on both sides, and leaving some of that light where the grass meets the hedgerow, so it's light in that area. The composition of this painting, I think, is very good. for beginners because it's one where you're led into the painting. It's not too complicated, but it is applying the general principles. And you will see as well that the little farmhouse cottage is offset. It's not bang smack in the middle of the painting. It's offset slightly to the right, which has been done on purpose. That keeps the eye moving in the painting. If it was bang smack in the middle, the chances are that that's where you stop once you view it. I have decided that now the trees are very much sufficiently dry since we've been doing the other work, I can now use more of that scraping technique with the side of the brush for some of the darker foliage. Use something like your number 6 brush. For the fencing, you will know that we've got that brown mixture made up. So we've got these posts that you will know when you view them in the landscape like this. They start off with a wide gap between each one, and then it slowly gets more narrow. So bear that in mind. This is a good example of how to achieve that. And we got a little bit of wire running along top and bottom. And you see that also helps to make things convincing in terms of the vanishing points and so forth. Little dots here and there on the wire, and a few little, not too much, indications of shadows from posts, but don't overdo that. It's not necessary. It's a subdued light in a way. It wouldn't be too strong. Then for our gate and posts, use that dark brown mixture. Lay that in. Then on the bottom there, near the property, we got a little bit of shadow too. And that's the painting completed. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you next time.